Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm sharing experiences, true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show, along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. Support is never expected but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows. And there are many ways to support the show. You can share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platform. You can sign up for the Patreon feed for as little as $1 a month and get all the extra content there. You can also check out the merchandise store and get all kinds of shirts and some other items with designs made by friends of the show. Please support friends of the show, including Jen, the Arcane Observer, who has her own channel and is the co-host of this show on Saturdays when she's able to join me, and Ricky of the Anything Is Possible podcast, who does a few different shows per week, and I usually sit in with him on his Sunday night shows where we talk all things paranormal. And also Michael Strange, host of Trouble Minds Radio and the Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear all kinds of amazing shows as well as my own online 24/7 for free. And I also call in frequently to Trouble Minds Radio as well. And I think that takes care of everything, so thank you all for being here and listening in, whether you listen to the live streams or on the podcast or YouTube feeds. And just a quick reminder: the YouTube feed does not have every single episode on it. So to find that, you have to go to the website and the regular website or the Podbean website to get all the episodes. Because I have not gotten around to trying to upload every single episode onto YouTube, and I don't know if I ever will. But anyway, let me get to the file here with all the true stories on it. And we'll get started. And of course, as I always say, I'm always open to listening to you all share your true experiences on my show, or reading posts. I can't talk. Or if you want to send me submissions of your experiences, written emails or messages in Discord, I can read them on the show that way as well. And of course, my email is salsidoparanormal@gmail.com. And it's very, very similar to the show website, which is just salsidoparanormal.com. So let me, apparently I did not make the text as big as I wanted it to. So there we go, that's better. First one here for tonight says, my grandmother was living with us and sitting in the living room. I was in the kitchen washing dishes, just doing my thing and being helpful. While I was washing, I suddenly felt like something was staring at me. I thought my grandmother had gotten up to watch me, so I turned around really fast. When I turned around, I saw a tall, all-black shadow figure. It looked like it was wearing a hat, an old-time hat, kind of like the ones you see in cartoons. Before I could really look at it or understand what it was, it disappeared. After that moment, I never saw it again. What could this be? And that's where that one ends. This is one of those examples of a one-time paranormal event that someone had that never happened again, and I'm guessing before, where it just seems like it was someone passing through, possibly. And it's just this shadow figure with a hat. Again, that's a type of shadow figure that people report seeing a lot of. And I don't know why it showed up at that time when it did. Again, Sometimes I wonder, is it because they're just passing through areas and they don't realize they're going to be seen or they want to be noticed? It's always impossible to know what's going on there. But yeah, so I'm always curious with these sort of single one-time sightings here of things and what that means and how that works. Because if you think about sort of places that have a lot of activity constantly ongoing, you can sort of sometimes maybe figure out patterns and or intentions based on the activity, on what's going on, what paranormal activity is happening. But if it only happens one time, it's very difficult to do that unless some kind of it, it, whatever people are seeing it projects some kind of feeling, or they get a clear sense of its intentions through feelings, emotions. If it's just a sighting without anything else going on with it, and just the feeling of being looked at without any emotional context, that's very hard to know what's going on there. Moving to the next one here. This one says, I've been lurking on this forum, and it has emboldened me to ask you all the questions I don't want to ask my friends. I've read about all different kinds of spirits and creatures and folklore, but I'm not a super expert on characteristics of different things. So I was wondering if anyone has thoughts on these. When I was 10, I was in my room and I saw my sister walk past my doorway. I wanted to tell her something, so I called out her name and went out into the hallway. She was walking towards my parents' bedroom, not responding at all, back to me. And I guess leaving her back to them. At this point, I was annoyed I was being ignored. So I started walking down the hallway. After getting well into my parents' bedroom, she turned left into their bathroom around the corner. I walked into the bathroom. She was not she was not there. There was nowhere to hide. It was a second-story room with a very heavy window. Turns out she was down in the basement. I've heard of mimics before. Could this be a possible example? Never had anything happen again, except the occasional hey or hearing my name called, but maybe 3 total times over 15 years. Always wondered about that one. Fast forward to the present day. Up until recently, I worked exclusively remotely and was home uh, a lot alone a lot. No one else, husband or kids, have encountered anything to my knowledge. I heard something shuffling around in my stepdaughter's room, often when I was working downstairs. It nearly never left her room. Once in a while, I heard it come a little down the hallway towards the steps. I haven't seen anything, but I guess I get kind of an impression, or whatever it's called, of what this looks like. I've heard of those terrifying shadow figures that are spheres of dark energy and bad news, big and terrifying. But this to me was just a dark black figure, like it was not 3D and felt neutral. I'm not worried about it. I'm just wondering, what is it? Curious to hear your thoughts. And that's where that one ends. Sounds like possibly either that family, that individual there, um, that made that post is sensitive to some degree. It doesn't sound like it's they sound almost in a way similar to me, where they don't have experiences every day, but they just have them here and there. And the I do like that they sort of they're not terrified by any of what's going on now. They get a sense that whatever they're sensing is neutral. So, and they didn't say they saw it. That's the other fascinating thing with this last part of this post here. They didn't say they saw it moving around the house. It was they sounds like what they're if I'm reading this right, they heard something and in their mind they got a sense of what it was, and it was just this shadow figure, which is really fascinating. Unless they did see it, which either way is still something to look into, but yeah, I wonder what's going on with that. And yeah, I'm just curious if it is a sensitivity of this person, or I mean, it's always possible that they could have moved from a home with some activity to a new home with some activity. It's hard to say. Um, with the seeing their sister when they were younger, that could have been a mimic. That could have also been some kind of weird time anomaly. Uh, it's always hard to say with those as well. The voices as well. It's a lot of possibilities as to what all this could be. So moving on to the next one here. This one says, if any of you have any answers, I'd appreciate it. My grandma has sundown, I guess I mean syndrome or some kind of medical condition, and has had multiple mini strokes. The doctors are giving her less than a year. She started seeing and talking about a little girl running around the house, which I've marked up to hallucinations. But today, my wife, mom, and I all saw a tall shadow man around the house and outside. I'm kind of worried it could be a death omen. Let me know your thoughts. And then it has a little bit more here. It says, update. It's now the following day, and we are having cardinals attack the windows at the house. And that's where that one ends. This is fascinating. I've heard of wildlife, specifically birds, acting weird in rare cases uh, before or after the passing of a person. I don't know what that means, if it's a certain energy the person gives off or that is left behind after they pass in an area. Uh, I have heard, and I've talked about before many times, how people will be, as they are drawing near the end, um, and even other family members, they will have experiences in wherever they're staying, even if that area has never had activity before. It does seem to be that that can be that sort of transition from one level of reality to another can be a beacon in some cases to other beings that then show up. And a lot of times you hear reports that it's family, but there's plenty of others where it's just random um, or unknown, unrecognized entities as well. So it's really hard to know what's going on there. And I don't know what Logan is doing, but we'll hope that she stops. But anyway, moving on to the next one here. This one says, 10 years ago, I was out in the field for a training exercise with my unit in the Marine Corps. It was very dark, and we were setting up and I had to look this up. They say bivouac, which apparently is temporary encampment or shelter. Between my squad's sleeping bags and the sleeping bags of another squad in my platoon was a patch of grass that lights came out of. I'd say it was oddly shaped lights that were kind of like yellow and red glow sticks put together, but really thick glow sticks. And if you were to straighten them out, it would have been about 10 feet long. It was shaped like a cursive letter N with a long roof of the N. It slowly rose out of the ground. I thought it was me, so I was rubbing my eyes. But a couple of my guys were watching it too. We all watched it float higher and higher up to the sky. Uh, and eventually, we couldn't see it. Eventually, so high, we couldn't see it anymore. It probably took about 5 minutes. It wasn't floating very fast. I wish someone took a picture of or tried to touch it. I don't know if I recommend that. Uh, but we were all very tired and just watched it. We all still bring it up in conversation in the rare times we see each other. No one has come up with a good explanation. I'm kind of hoping one of you guys can, and that's where that post ends. So that's fascinating. I mean, unless it's some kind of very elaborate prank or trick pulled on those people by other people, I would say that does seem fairly anomalous. The lights and everything, and the different colored lights and the thickness and all that. And if these are military, then you would think they would know when they're seeing conventional lights and objects and all those kinds of things. So I found that one really fascinating. And the thing about that is, you notice they didn't put down where this happened. They didn't give. If I were to share the link with where the original post with you all, you would not find a name of the person or of the unit even, or anything like that. Any uniquely identifying details, just because of the stigma against all these things, and that still is out there. I mean, it has gotten better in some ways, but not with everybody. So, and there are just so many reports. I could probably do entire shows on military and or first responder experiences, just based on what I can find online in pages like the ones I use to find stories, true stories for the show on a regular basis. So, but I always find those fascinating when it's someone who's a trained observer who still has an experience that they can't explain, and it's multiple people there, not just one. So, anyway, I may have to at some point this weekend. I may have to get something to deal with my voice because it's been acting weird lately. But anyway, we'll power through until the weekend is over. Obviously, this next one says, "I thought of my old boss and brought it up to my girlfriend, only to find out he passed away that day. The man changed my life, coached me, got me a promotion off the factory floor and into the office. He wasn't afraid to call me an idiot, but always had my back and spoke very, very highly of me. I was talking about him to my girlfriend and how important he was to where I am today, only to find out he passed away the same day. It's a very eerie feeling, and I have not seen him in probably 10 years. Anyway, I wanted to share my experience, and now that I know what happened, I just know he felt as strongly about me as I did about him. And that's where that one ends. And that's a fascinating one. It's almost like maybe possibly the person that made this post um, was possibly being visited in some way by the spirit, by the energy, or the consciousness of this individual, sort of saying hello, maybe not on a conscious level or on a visible level, and yet they just started thinking about this person out of nowhere, and and got confirmation of their passing uh, after that happens. So I find that one to be then similar experiences to be fascinating because it's not like a ghost showing up and appearing and saying I have passed away. It's not as obvious, but it's more subtle. And I do think so often all these things happen in more subtle ways than what um, TV shows and movies and all those things uh, show to everyone out there. It's not always that um, a clear-cut person or creature or whatever showing up. So just wanted to share that to, again, just for anyone that's curious, sometimes these things happen in very subtle ways. And I think we have time for one more here. This one says, I'd like to start this off with a couple of things. This happened years ago, but I remember most, if not all, of the details right. I personally am not a big believer in anything more than what I see, but I try to keep an open mind, for better or worse. In about 2016, I was on a road trip with my father from Cincinnati to the west edge of Virginia. This is about a 7 to 9 hour drive, and along the way, I was hungry and probably annoying about it as I was about 10 to 12 at the time. I asked if we could get something to eat, and my dad said sure. The highway we were on was busy, and so we took the next exit. If I remember correctly, the exit was sort of busy too. I'll explain in a sec. It went two ways after the exit, left and right. I remember the right being fairly normal, American traffic, and the left was empty, but it was where the restaurants supposedly were. And I just realized we're not going to have time to finish this one. So I will start this one over again next time, and we will get to the rest of it. Or maybe I'll just continue it since these will come out one after the other. But yeah, I remember this one now, and I'm looking forward to hearing what y'all think about it in the next episode. Thank you all for being here and listening, and please remember to check out all the links in the episode descriptions. If you enjoy reading about these experiences as well as hearing about them, I do have a weekly post that goes out on my Substack, which I have included a link to in every episode description. And there I just feature 3 experiences from what I call the archives, or basically the archive of experiences, and my thoughts on them as of today. So anyway, thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.